छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Purport. All kinds of weapons, swords, flames, weapons, range weapons, tornado weapons, etc., are unable to kill the spirit soul. It appears that there were many kinds of weapons made of earth, water, air, ether, etc., in addition to modern weapons of fire. Even the nuclear weapons of the modern age are classified as fire weapons. But formerly, there were other weapons made of all different types of material elements. Fire weapons were counteracted by water weapons, which are now unknown to modern science. Nor do modern scientists have knowledge of tornado weapons. Nonetheless, the soul can never be cut to pieces, nor annihilated by any number of weapons, regardless of scientific devices. The Mayavadi cannot explain how the individual soul came into existence simply by ignorance and consequently became covered by the illusory energy. Nor was it ever possible to cut the individual soul from the original Supreme Soul. Rather, the individual souls are eternally separated parts of the Supreme Soul because they are atomic individual souls, eternally, sanatana. They are prone to be covered by the illusory energy and thus they become separated from the association of the Supreme Lord. Just as the sparks of a fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. In the Varaha Purana, the living entities are described as separated parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so, according to the Bhagavad Gita also. So, even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. Hearty welcome to everybody to Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Mandir to join our Bhagavad Gita class on this Sunday evening. This verse is like Krishna revealing his heart in confidence, explaining the nature of the soul in such minute detail which any amount of scientific effort cannot unearth. Because this knowledge is not obtainable by experimentation. It is beyond the scope of the senses, and material knowledge is entirely within the purview of the senses. If you cannot see it, if you cannot touch it, smell it, taste it, or feel it, you disqualify it as non-existent. That is the limitation of material science. This is a reality much more wider than material knowledge, and therefore it has only to be understood and imbibed by direct information or communication from the Supreme, the Creator Himself. Who can describe the creation better than the Creator? Only He can. He knows what is the intention, He knows what is the nature, what is the constitution, why is it being made, for what purpose, what is its goal, what is its end. Everything He knows. So He is giving us to us in a nutshell. It is like going to somebody's house. You may know the person, but he may dismiss you from the gate itself. He may not even let you in. But if you are more intimately connected, he may welcome you to the drawing room. But if you are a person who is so close to him, he may take you right to his bedroom and sit and discuss over there with you. There is no partition between himself and you. He is welcoming you as one of the family members, a very intimate associate. That is how this verse is. Krishna is revealing the absolute truth, the naked truth, so to say, in a very casual way. And that is why Bhagavad Gita is known as an open secret. It's open secret because the language is simple, but will it enter the perception of the reader? That depends upon the attitude of the reader. Whether the attitude is one favorable or the attitude is one of envy. If there is envy, the subject matter will not enter. That is Krishna's filter. He has a filter. Okay? So that is a spiritual filter. That's what we have to understand. Now, you see, the Vedic knowledge is very deep and very precise. Very precise. The classifications given are so perfect that we can't understand when we try to analyze things from our puny intelligence. That is the difference. When an ant looks at a human being, how can it understand a human being? The size of the ant is so small. What is its limit of vision? And what is the size of a human being? And what is the scope of the movement of a human being in comparison to the ant? So something like that is how, when we try to understand facts as they are. So they have to be only understood by one who is in knowledge and who is giving the knowledge. So if you keep your hearts open, if you keep your intelligence open, and rather than questioning or challenging the knowledge, if you try to accept it submissively, it easily enters. But otherwise, it will remain at the gate and not enter. That is why Bhagavad Gita is known as an open secret. The book is available. Anybody can read it, but how many can grasp it? That makes a difference. So here. Yes. See, the classification so just mentioning the point of classification. How many kinds of miseries are there in this world? Can anybody just try to attempt to understand how many kinds of miseries? People undergo various kinds of miseries, right? Sometimes it is financial, sometimes it is physical, so on and so forth. So how would you classify the miseries? How many kinds? Beyond our scope to understand, or very difficult? Innumerable kinds of miseries, isn't it? But the Vedic texts are classifying it in very simple 3 stages. Those which are born of the body and the mind is one. That which is caused by other living entities is the second. And those which are by natural acts of God. Insurance policies mention acts of God. Mind you, whether people believe in God or no. But when it comes to even financial dealings, they have to accept God. Insurance policies mentioned known as acts of God. What are acts of God? Natural disasters like tsunami, earthquake, tornado, etc. It's beyond human control and power. Sometimes even beyond prediction. People have to face the consequences. So, what are the components of this material creation? That is another classification. We are dealing with that today. The components of this material creation are given in 2 shlokas, or 1 shloka rather. Yeah. Bhumi raponu lovayu kammano buddhire vacha ahankaramiti yamme bhinnada prakritirashtada. Ashtada means 8 kinds of components. And what are they? Earth, water, fire, air and ether. 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements. Mind, intelligence and ego. This ego is a very, very elusive thing which many people cannot even understand, but it is there. And then the next verse, Apareyam itastvanyam vidhi me prakritim param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharayate jagat. What does it say? But beyond these things, there is one more element. Apareyam, beyond. Itastva anyam, it is different, of a different kind. Vidhi me prakritim para, understand it is my superior nature. Jiva bhuta, the living entity, the soul. Mahabaho is telling Arjuna, oh mighty armed one, you may have immense strength, but to understand this, your strength will not help you. Jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedham dharayate jagat. And it is this energy which is actually running the world. Others are physical presence, but this is the one which is the driving force. So similarly, we see the entire composition of this cosmic manifestation in which we are living has got 5 basic elements: earth, water, fire, air and ether. Everything is made of this. Give you one example. We all know from high school science, earth comprises of 75% ocean, that is water, and 25% land, approximately. Somebody may say 78, somebody may say 80, that's some kind of variation. But otherwise, approximately 3/4 and 1/4. We just broadly divide it like that. Okay? What is the human body composed of? 80% water and 20% of other items, minerals and earth and so on and so forth. See, the composition is running almost parallel. Everything here is made up of these basic elements, and more or less the composition also follows the same pattern. This is broad classification. This is classification from a macro level. We are trying to understand things in the micro level because that is our reach. Jiski jitni pahunch, they say na. Once there was a problem and one person called the traffic police. So I said, what is the traffic police going to do with this? This is some different problem. He said, jiski jitni pahunch, he didn't know anybody else, so he called the traffic police to solve the problem. So it's like that. So therefore, if you understand things from the point of view of Krishna, the Creator, then you are able to widen your horizon of understanding. Otherwise your horizon becomes limited. Within a limited sense. But this widens your horizon. So therefore, it's explained, Nainam Chindanti Shastrani. That is, no material elements can in any way affect the soul which is of a different dimension. The body is composed of the 5 material elements grossly and 3 in a subtle way. But none of these material elements or weapons made out of these material elements can affect the soul. The soul cannot be cut into pieces, nor it cannot be cleaved by weapons. That is the word used. You can use the weapons, but what you will kill is the body and not the soul. The soul does not die. It simply escapes from the body and it continues its onward journey. That is the nature of the soul. So, to understand this, we have another example. Supposing there is an helicopter flying above a highway. When the signal on the highway turns to red, the cars will stop. But will the helicopter have to stop? Because it is operating in a different zone. So this will give us an understanding. The dimension of the soul is different. So the material laws will not apply to it. And we may use weapons to cause damage, but it cannot damage the soul. This actually happened when a soldier who was educated with the knowledge of the Gita was confronted by an enemy, and with a gun he was pointing the gun on his head. And he said, I am going to kill you. He said, you cannot kill me. That fellow was perplexed. What do you mean I cannot kill you? You are unarmed and I have the gun in my hand and I can shoot and you will die. Because you can kill my body, not my soul. Immediately he said, what do you mean? And he got into an argument, and ultimately he was convinced and he got enlightened. So you see, this is what we have to understand on a different level. This is understanding on a different level altogether. So, trees are natural factories that produce food. Understand that. You cannot manufacture food in factories. Nuts and bolts you cannot eat. Please. To eat, what do we need? Produce that come from the plant kingdom. Grains, fruits, vegetables. These are the things we can eat and sustain. Right? So trees are natural factories created by God. But again, what do they use? What do they manufacture? What is the raw material they use? They are rooted in the earth. So they get the nutrients from the earth. Huh? So minerals like iron, calcium, all these things, they derive from the earth. Second, they need water. They absorb water, the roots. They need sunlight. Sunlight is nothing but fire, a fire element. And they need air, oxygen. Okay, they take in oxygen through the leaves. And ultimately they occupy some space. So they need ether. Ether is space. So see, the same basic 5 ingredients go into everything. This is macro classification. Classification on the macro level. So this is the beauty of the Vedic knowledge in the text. It explains things in a very basic way. Nainam chindanti shastrani. No weapons can cleave the soul. It cannot be affected. Like the signal on the highway will not stop the helicopter or the airplane flying above. It's got a different zone. Similarly, Nainam dahati pavaka. Fire cannot burn the soul. This is very interesting. I'll come to that. Very interesting. Fire cannot burn the soul. What happens in the Vedic custom? When a person dies, the body is burnt. The soul has already left the body. Only the dead body is burnt. Okay? Fire cannot burn the soul. Nainam davati pavaka. Na chainam kledayantyaapo. That means it cannot be moistened by water. Rain cannot affect the soul. Soul is absolutely unaffected by all these things. Na shoshayati marutah. Nor can it be dried by the wind. Wind cannot dry it. So all the material elements can have no effect on the soul. That is the crux of the knowledge of this verse. And you must have noticed this verse in the newspapers. Very often it is being quoted, especially when some prominent personality passes away and they give a big ad in the papers. And this verse is prominently quoted. If you have not noted it, note it now thereafter. Up to now you might not have come across this verse. But now that you know what this verse is, when you read that you will understand. So what do they imply by this verse over there? They mean to say that though this person has passed out of physical existence, his soul, which is the core of existence, is unaffected by any of these material changes. Death cannot affect the soul. Death is only passing away of the soul from this body. But then it has an onward journey. Which other body it will enter and how will it move ahead? There are other factors and other reasons governing that. That we are not discussing now. There is fire in our stomach. Are you aware of that? You say, if there is fire in the stomach, I will be burning. How can I be alive? No. Krishna knows. God knows how to keep fire in the stomach without damaging you. He knows it. So what is that fire? It is known as Jathar Agni. And what is the proof that there is fire in your stomach? The simple proof is your body temperature is 98.4 degrees Fahrenheit. It's constantly maintained in winter or summer. How does it happen? Have you seen in restaurants what do they do? Food is always hot. A customer can walk in any time. They have to serve the food hot. But how do they do it? There is a thermostat arrangement. In the vessel in which they store the food, below that, there is a thermostat arrangement. As soon as the temperature goes down, it switches on and the heat is supplied. And again the heat is maintained. Again when it is sufficiently hot, the thermostat again fails. It stops. The heat is withdrawn. So this way, there is a mechanism in the body. And what is the simple mechanism to understand very simply? The liver secretes hydrochloric acid for digestion. And this actually combines with the oxygen that we breathe through the red blood corpuscles. It enters the intestines, and there a chemical action takes place. And the food that is digested is burnt. It has to be burnt. That is why, you see, it is the word that used here is Nainam Dahati Pavaka. Dahati means burning. Fire cannot burn it. This is the word used in this verse. Similarly, when a person is dead and the body is burnt, the term that is used is Dahana Kriya. Dahana Kriya, that is the word used. Cremation of the body. Okay? So Dahana means to burn. So the food in the stomach is digested by the process of burning. The oxygen is from the air that we breathe goes into that, and that combines with the hydrochloric acid, and it actually creates that burning potency is released and the food is digested. So, yeah. Okay, I'll tell you one very a revealing incident that happened. Once I was driving the car, and a senior devotee brahmachari was with me in the car. I was driving, and I was running low on fuel, so I entered the petrol pump. And as I entered the petrol pump, the first thing is he's going to fill the petrol. Then I told the person there, attendant, Bhaiya jara oil pani check karo. How do you do it? Lubricant oil if it is sufficient, there is water in the radiator, all these things. And then I went further and I went to the place where they fill the air in the tires. There I said, Bhaiya hawa bhar. And the senior brahmachari, Radhapati Prabhu, who was sitting with me, he said, my God, this needs everything the body needs. All the 5 elements. Because petrol is fire, oil is earth, water is water, air is air, because your car needs air. There is an air cleaner in the car. Okay? It absorbs, it sucks in air for combustion in the engine. Okay? And then you also need air in the tires. You see? So just see how the classification is so perfect. Even the machines which man makes, it uses the same components, the same elements. Earth, water, fire, air and ether. So see, the classification is so perfect. Okay, now, in understanding God, the Creator, there are 2 concepts. Generally, even the spiritualists, they have 2 concepts. One is, they understand God in His impersonal feature. There is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna describes, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagatapyattamurtinam matsthani sarva bhutani nachahante shravastita. What is the meaning of this? He says, in my impersonal feature, I pervade the entire creation. Which is the place where God is not there? He is there everywhere. He is all pervasive, isn't it? Maya tatamidam sarvam, here, there, everywhere. Jagat avyakta murtina. In my impersonal feature, I am present everywhere. He is here. He is here. He is everywhere. Can you see Him? Can you touch Him? No. That is His impersonal feature. He is constantly aware of everything. But in the next verse he says, Matsthani sarva bhutani nachahante shvavastita. Everything is within me. And the next verse he says, Nacha matstani bhutani. But everything is not in me. I am separate from all. Pashyame yogamashwaram. Look at my mystic opulence. It's something you cannot understand with your logic and reasoning. Beyond your intelligence. Look at my mystic opulence. I am there also, I am not there also. How can both be true? But it is so. That is why our intelligence has a limitation. It is what for? Roti, kapda, makan. Only for three things. Food, shelter and clothing. It helps us to provide these things for our body. Body is again matter. So material requirements, intelligence works. But beyond that, to understand God, to relate to God, of a different dimension, intelligence has its limitation. To understand this, I'll give you one more example. You can take the best of cars. Mercedes, Porsche, or whatever it may be. So many new cars are coming, so expensive. They can go up to the shore, but they cannot go into the ocean. Limitation. To cross the ocean, you need a different vehicle. You need a ship or a plane, but not with a car, though it may be the best of the cars. Similarly, with the best of your intelligence, there's only a certain region up to which you can go with your intelligence, with your reasoning, logic and understanding and grasping power and all these things. वहाँ जाकर रुक जाता है, break मारता है. You cannot go further. Then you need a leap of faith to jump over the ocean and go to the other side and see what is on the other side. That is what faith is. It is superior to intelligence. And sometimes people deride faith as blind faith. No, they are not discussing about blind faith. Faith based on scriptures. That is real faith. That can take you to the realm of God. It can give you entry into the realm of God. That is why first we must learn to put our faith in the scriptures. Then with that you can actually rocket out of the gravitational force of logic and reason. That is how it works. Even in the society, in your household societies where we live, we have a suction pump on the ground where the municipal water comes and fills the tank over there. But this tank, this water, has to be pumped to the terrace of the building so that you get water in your taps in every floor. How do you do that? You need a pump. But how does the pump work? We may not be going there, but the watchman of the society does that. So he will open and go into the pump room, and there he pours a little water into the pump. The pump, if it is dry, it will burn. It cannot suck the water. It has to create a vacuum. Therefore, he will pour a little water, and when that water is pumped out, then there is a vacuum created. That is why it is known as a suction pump. Because of the power of the vacuum, it sucks the water from the pump, and then the pump will throw it out to the terrace. That is how it works. In the same way, we need that Adav Shraddha, initial faith. Just as the little water in the pump can help you to suck up the entire tank consisting of maybe 5,000 liters or even 10,000 liters. But initially you need just half a liter. So initially we need a little faith. That is known as Adav Shraddha. And when that is there in the right direction, in the scriptures, scriptures are literature given by God directly for the benefit of each one of us individually. He relates to each one of us individually. Externally through Guru and Sadhu, Shastra, that is scriptures, and internally as Paramatma in the heart. So, andar se, bahar se. So, He is all-encompassing. We have to understand these facts. Then we will be able to make rapid progress. Then we will be in the right direction. So, the two schools of thought are God is formless, one school of thought, and the other is God is a form. Now, that impersonal feature of Lord, the Vedic term for that is Brahman. Not Brahman, Brahman. Brahmajane iti Brahman. One who understands the all-pervading feature of the Lord, that is Brahman. One who